Hi, this is David Comfort from Democracy Action Network. Here's what's actually wild. Trump just called his own supporters' demands for Epstein file transparency a hoax and referred to them as his past supporters. The guy who built his entire political brand on "I'll tell you what other politicians won't" is now asking people to just trust the government without seeing the evidence. This is honestly crazy, but it's also predictable if you understand the fundamental contradiction of anti-establishment politics. Trump spent a decade telling Americans they can't trust the deep state, can't trust what they're told about vaccines, JFK, or even what they saw on January 6th. Now he wants them to make an exception, for him. Ever notice how this always happens with populist leaders? They run against power, win power, then get confused when their base keeps applying the skepticism they taught them. What if I told you that 79% of Americans, including Democrats, support releasing all Epstein documents? That's not a partisan issue. That's basic transparency. And here's the kicker. Trump's own FBI Director Kash Patel and Deputy Dan Bongino were the ones spreading dark rumors about Epstein cover-ups before they got into government. Attorney General Pam Bondi said the client list was sitting on my desk right now, in February. Now suddenly it doesn't exist? The deeper pattern here connects to something we've seen throughout history. Remember how the Bolsheviks promised to smash the corrupt czarist bureaucracy, then created an even more secretive one? How populist movements promise radical transparency, then discover that governing requires some opacity? But Trump's situation is uniquely awkward because his entire appeal was personal, not policy-based. His supporters didn't love him for his Ukraine position or Iran strategy. They loved him because he seemed like the guy who'd blow up the system and tell them the truth. When military raids and foreign interventions shifted, his base grumbled but stayed. This feels different. The Epstein story has staying power because, unlike chemtrails or QAnon, questioning suspicious deaths of people connected to powerful figures is mainstream. It's the kind of thing that gets 39% of Americans saying they think Epstein was murdered, with only 20% confident he killed himself. When the FBI releases full raw video that turns out to be edited with a mysterious 3-minute gap, you don't need to be a conspiracy theorist to raise eyebrows. What makes this particularly delicious is that Trump was friends with Epstein for 15 years. His 2002 quote about Epstein being a terrific guy who likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side, isn't going anywhere. So when he dismisses the whole thing as a hoax, he's not exactly the most credible messenger. The puzzle here isn't whether Trump survives this. He probably will. It's what this reveals about the inherent contradictions in anti-establishment politics. You can't spend years teaching people not to trust institutions, then expect them to make exceptions when you become the institution. History suggests that every successful anti-establishment movement eventually faces this moment, when the revolutionaries become the establishment they once opposed and have to choose between their principles and their power. Please like this video and subscribe to our channel. It would help out a lot. Peace.